On my 5-year-old's birthday, my parents didn't give her anything, saying they forgot. But a week later, my sister's daughter was holding a brand new iPhone 17 Pro. So I also forgot, and didn't send the promised $10,000 for my parents' kitchen renovation. After that, 32 missed calls. And then, my parents forgot my daughter's birthday. 5 years old, her first big kid birthday as she called it, and they showed up empty-handed with a shrug and a "we'll make it up to her." I believed them. That was my first mistake. My name is Corinne. I'm 31, married to my husband Derek for 7 years, and we live in a 3-bedroom house in Raleigh, North Carolina. We're not rich, but we're not broke either. Derek works in logistics, I'm a dental hygienist, and together we do okay. We have one daughter, Rosie. She just turned 5, and she's the kind of kid who talks to butterflies and saves her Halloween candy for months because she doesn't want the chocolate to feel left out. Yeah, she's that kind of sweet. So picture this. It's Rosie's birthday party. We've got streamers, a unicorn cake, the whole 9 yards. My parents, Gary and Donna, show up 40 minutes late, which honestly is early for them. My mom walks in, gives Rosie a squeeze and says, "Happy birthday, sweet pea." My dad pats her head like she's a golden retriever. No gift bag. No card. Nothing. Now, do you think I said something right then? Of course not. I bit my tongue so hard I could taste metal because that's what daughters like me do, right? We keep the peace. We smile. We tell ourselves it's fine. My sister Bridget was there with her 2 kids, 13-year-old Haley and 8-year-old Mason. Bridget's 2 years older than me, divorced, and honestly one of the best people I know. She'd brought Rosie this gorgeous art set with like 60 colors and a little easel. Rosie nearly passed out from joy. Bridget looked at me sideways when our parents came in with nothing, and I just shook my head. Not now. After the party, when everyone went home and Rosie was in bed surrounded by wrapping paper like some kind of gift tornado, Derek sat down next to me and said, "So your parents really didn't bring anything?" "They forgot," I said. Derek just looked at me. You know that look your partner gives you when they're trying not to say what they're really thinking? He took a breath, nodded and said, "Okay. They said they'd make it up to her." Okay. I could hear everything he wasn't saying. Here's the thing, and I know some of you are probably already figuring this out. My parents have always been uneven. Not bad people, not monsters. Just uneven. Bridget's kids? My mom has them over every other weekend. She takes Haley shopping, she bakes with Mason, she posts photos of them on Facebook with captions like, "Grandma's Angels." Rosie? She's been to their house maybe 6 times in her entire life. I used to tell myself it was geography. We live 20 minutes away. Bridget lives 5 minutes away. But then I'd see the photo albums my mom kept, pages and pages of Haley and Mason, and one blurry picture of Rosie from her christening, wedged in the back like an afterthought. You ever notice something that breaks your heart but you convince yourself you're overreacting? Yeah. That's been my whole life. Anyway, 1 week goes by. No makeup gift for Rosie. No call, no card, no little something in the mail. I don't say anything because I'm still giving them the benefit of the doubt. That's what good daughters do, right? Tell me, would you have called them? Then day 8 happens. I'm scrolling through Facebook, because apparently I enjoy emotional pain, and there's a photo from my mom's page. Haley, sitting at my parents' kitchen table, holding a brand new iPhone 17 Pro. The caption reads, "Only the best for our girl. Grandma and Grandpa's little tech genius." I stared at that photo for I don't know how long. Derek found me sitting on the bathroom floor with my phone. "What happened?" he asked. I just turned the screen toward him. He read it, looked at me, and for the first time he didn't say, "Okay." He said, "That's enough, Corinne." And honestly, something shifted inside me right then. Like a switch I didn't know existed just flipped. 5 years of swallowed hurt and excuses, and they didn't mean it, just kind of evaporated. And what was left was this very clear, very calm thought. If they can forget my daughter, I can forget them too. Now, some of you are probably thinking, "It's just a phone, Corinne, don't overreact." And you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe a phone is just a phone. But it's not about the phone, is it? It's about your kid watching her grandparents love her cousins out loud while she gets silence. It's about your 5-year-old not even asking why Grandma and Grandpa didn't bring her a present, because she's already used to it. That's the part that destroyed me. So the next morning I'm making Rosie pancakes, the ones shaped like bears, because she insists regular pancakes are boring circles. And the doorbell rings. It's 8:15 in the morning. Nobody shows up at 8:15 unless they're delivering bad news or they're furious. In this case it was both. I open the door and there's my dad, Gary, standing on my porch in his old fishing jacket, arms stiff at his sides, jaw clenched like he was physically holding his words in. Behind him, in the driveway, my mom was sitting in the car with the engine running. She didn't even get out. Just sat there with her sunglasses on like she was the getaway driver. "We need to talk," my dad said. "Good morning to you too, Dad." He didn't laugh. He pushed past me into the hallway, not aggressively but not politely either, and stood in my kitchen looking at Rosie's bare pancakes like they had personally offended him. "Daddy Gary," Rosie said, waving her fork. She calls him Daddy Gary because when she was 3 she couldn't figure out the word grandpa, and it just stuck. He gave her a half smile, the kind you give a coworker's kid. Then he turned to me. "Your mother is very upset." "About what?" "You guys," the look on his face. Like I'd asked him to explain gravity. "About the money, Corinne. What do you think?" "Oh right. The money I forgot about." "You didn't forget." "I did, Dad. Just like you forgot Rosie's birthday." And there was. Out in the open. I watched it land and for about 2 seconds I saw something flicker across his face. Guilt maybe, or at least the cousin of guilt. But it disappeared fast, and what replaced it was something I genuinely did not expect. He said, "That's different." Different. Let that sink in. Forgetting a child's birthday is different from forgetting to send money. You tell me, in what universe is that different? In what universe does a 5-year-old's feelings rank below kitchen countertops? I set down the spatula. "How is it different, Dad? We were going to get her something. We just hadn't gotten around to it. It's been over a week. We've been busy with the renovation. Busy enough to buy Haley an iPhone 17 Pro? Now he went quiet. Really quiet. Rosie was watching us the way kids do when they feel the temperature in a room change. She stopped chewing and just held her fork in the air, a little piece of pancake bear ear dangling off the end. "Sweetie, go eat in the living room, okay? You can watch one cartoon." She grabbed her plate and bolted. Smart kid. My dad sat down at my kitchen table without being invited, which, if you knew my dad, is very on brand. He rubbed his face with both hands and said, "That phone was your mother's idea. Haley needed one for school. She's 13, Dad. She didn't need a pro model." "I'm not here to argue about a phone." "No, you're here to argue about money. Your money matters. My daughter doesn't." And here's where he said the thing I'm still not over, honestly. He leaned forward and said, and I am quoting him exactly, "Corinne, you and Derek are doing fine. Bridget is on her own. We have to help where help is needed." I almost laughed. Almost. Because the implication was so clear it might as well have been written on a billboard. Because I married well and my sister didn't, my child deserves less love. My kid gets the leftovers because her parents have 2 incomes. Can you imagine hearing that from your own father? Derek walked in right at that moment. Perfect timing. Honestly, the man has a sixth sense for when I'm about to either cry or throw something, and he said, "Morning, Gary. Coffee." My dad looked at him and said, "Derek, talk some sense into her." And Derek, bless this man, poured himself a cup of coffee, took a long sip and said, "I think she's making plenty of sense." My dad stood up so fast the chair scraped the floor. "This is ridiculous. We asked you for help months ago. You agreed. And now you're punishing us over a birthday present." "No, Dad," I said. "I'm not punishing you. I just forgot. I'll make it up to you." He left. Slammed my screen door so hard the little wreath fell off. Through the window I watched him get in the car and I could see my mom immediately start talking, hands flying everywhere. They sat in my driveway for a full 5 minutes before pulling away. 5 minutes of whatever that conversation was. Now, do you think I felt good? I'll be honest with you. I felt terrible. Like physically sick to my stomach. Because that's the thing about standing up for yourself when you've never done it before. It feels wrong even when it's right. My hands were shaking. I sat down at the table where my dad had been sitting and I just stared at his coffee cup, the one Derek had started pouring before my dad stormed out. Derek sat across from me. "You okay?" "No. You did the right thing." "Then why do I feel like I kicked a puppy?" He reached across and held my hand and said something that kind of rearranged my brain. "Because they trained you to feel guilty for having boundaries. I mean, come on. The man should write greeting cards." That afternoon my phone buzzed. It was Bridget. She texted, "Mom just called me crying saying you're withholding money from them? What is happening?" Great. So now I'm the villain. I called Bridget and told her everything. The birthday, the phone, the forgot, the 32 missed calls, my dad showing up at dawn like a collection agent. She listened without interrupting, which is rare for Bridget. The woman has an opinion about everything, including how I load my dishwasher. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I didn't know they didn't get Rosie anything." Yeah. Corinne, I swear I didn't know about the phone either. Mom told me she was getting Haley a case for her old phone. I didn't know it was a whole new iPhone until Haley came home with it. I believed her. Bridget has never been the problem. She's never once acted like her kids were more important than Rosie. In fact, she's the one who always brings extra gifts, Always invites Rosie to Haley and Mason's stuff. Always tries to even things out without making it a thing. He's the buffer. She's been the buffer our whole lives, actually, just in different ways. So what are you going to do? She asked. I'm not sending the money. Okay. Are you mad? Why would I be mad? Because they're going to make this about you. They're going to say I'm punishing them, and then they're going to lean on you harder. She laughed, this dry, tired laugh. Corinne, they already lean on me. That's not new. What's new is you actually pushing back. Honestly, I've been waiting for this. That surprised me. You have. I've watched them treat Rosie like an afterthought for 5 years. You think I haven't noticed? I just didn't think it was my place to say anything. My sister. Honestly, sometimes the people who see you clearest are the ones standing right next to you. But here's where things took a turn I absolutely did not see coming. Because that evening, about 2 hours after I talked to Bridget, I got a text from my mom. Not a call, a text. And this is what it said word for word. Since you've decided to go back on your word, Dad and I have decided to use our savings for a vacation instead of waiting around for your help. We're taking Bridget and the kids to Myrtle Beach for a week. We all need a break from this stress. Maybe when we get back we can discuss things like adults. Read that again. Read it slowly. They took the money they did have. Money they said wasn't enough for the kitchen, money they said they desperately needed our $10,000 to supplement, and they booked a vacation. Not just for themselves. For Bridget and her kids. Everyone except me, Derek, and Rosie. I showed Derek the text. He read it, set the phone down, and said one word, wow. And I just started laughing. Not happy laughing. That unhinged kind of laughing where you're either going to laugh or you're going to lose your mind, and laughing seems healthier. Because you have to appreciate the artistry, right? The sheer audacity. They didn't have enough money for their kitchen, but they had enough for a beach vacation for 6 people? I texted back one word, enjoy. That's it. Nothing else. No fight, no paragraph, no explanation. Just enjoy. Because what else do you say to that? Now some of you might be thinking, Corinne, they're trying to hurt you. They're leaving you out on purpose. And yes, obviously. But here's what they didn't count on. They invited Bridget. And Bridget? Bridget has a conscience. Because about 30 minutes after that text, Bridget called me again. And she was not happy. Did you see Mom's text? The Myrtle Beach one? Yeah. Corinne, I'm not going. Bridge, don't. No. Listen to me. I'm not going on a vacation that's designed to punish you. That's insane. And I'm not letting my kids be props in whatever game they're playing. I tried to tell her it was fine, she should go, the kids would love the beach. But Bridget, stubborn, opinionated, dishwasher policing Bridget, would not budge. You're my sister, she said. And Rosie is my niece. And I'm not pretending this is okay. I cried. I'm not going to lie to you. I sat on my bedroom floor for the 2nd time that week and just cried. Because sometimes the thing that breaks you isn't the cruelty. It's the kindness right next to it. But listen, what Bridget did next. What she said to our parents. And what happened with Haley in that phone. I still can't believe it, honestly, because nobody asked her to do it. Nobody even suggested it. He just did it. And it changed everything. So Bridget called our parents that night and told them she wasn't going to Myrtle Beach. And from what she told me later, my mom completely fell apart on the phone. Not sad crying, angry crying. The kind where someone isn't upset that they hurt you, they're upset that it's not working. My mom said, after everything we do for you and those kids, you're going to side with her? And Bridget, my beautiful, stubborn, takes-no-nonsense sister, said, I'm not siding with anyone. I'm just not going to be your way of proving a point. My dad got on the phone next. He tried the calm approach, the let's be reasonable voice he uses when he wants you to think he's the rational one. He said, Bridget, this doesn't concern you. This is between us and Corinne. You made it concern me when you put my kids on the guest list and left hers off. He didn't have an answer for that. Now here's what I didn't know was happening at the same time. While Bridget was fighting my war for me, which by the way I never asked her to do and still feel weird about, something was going on at Bridget's house that she didn't tell me about until a few days later. Haley, 13-year-old Haley with her brand new iPhone 17 Pro, had been listening. Kids hear everything, right? You think they're in their rooms with headphones on, oblivious, but they're absorbing every word like little emotional sponges. Haley had heard Bridget's phone call with me earlier that day. She'd heard the one with our parents. And she'd been putting things together the way teenagers do, quietly without telling anyone, building a case in her head. That night, Haley came downstairs and sat on the couch next to Bridget and said, Mom, did Grandma and Grandpa really not get Rosie a birthday present? Bridget told her the truth because Bridget doesn't sugarcoat things for her kids. She's always been that way, honest to a degree that sometimes makes me nervous, but her kids trust her completely because of it. Haley was quiet for a minute. Then she said, That's really messed up. Bridget said, Yeah, it is. And then Haley said, and I swear when Bridget told me this I had to sit down. I don't want the phone. Bridget blinked. What? I don't want it. Not if they gave it to me instead of giving Rosie something. That's not fair. I have my old phone, it works fine. I don't need this one. 13 years old. 13. And she had more moral clarity than two grown adults in their 60s. Can you imagine? Are you guys hearing this? Because I'm still floored every time I think about it. Bridget told her she didn't have to do that it was a gift and she could keep it. But Haley shook her head and said, it doesn't feel like a gift anymore. It feels like they picked me over Rosie and I don't want to be picked like that. I'm telling you, that kid right there. But Bridget didn't just let it go. She sat with it for a couple of days because she's smart and she doesn't make rash decisions. Unlike me who forgot $10,000 in the span of a single phone call. She thought about what would actually be meaningful, what would actually make things right at least between us. And then she called me on a Wednesday morning. I was at work on my lunch break eating a sad little salad in the break room and she said, I have an idea and I want you to hear me out before you say no. That's never a good start. Haley wants to sell the phone. I nearly choked on a crouton. Bridge, no. Absolutely not. Hear me out. She wants to sell it, split the money and let the kids, all three of them, Haley, Mason and Rosie, each pick something they want. Something they choose for themselves. She said it should be the kids' decision, not the grandparents'. I didn't say anything for probably 30 seconds. Bridget waited. She really wants to do this? Finally asked. She brought it up to me 3 separate times. She's thought about it. She even looked up what it's worth on a resale site. The kid is thorough, I'll give her that. I laughed. A real laugh this time. She gets that from you. She gets the stubbornness from me. The moral compass. That's all her. So here's what happened. Bridget and Haley sold the iPhone 17 Pro. They got around $900 for it. Apparently it was basically mint condition because Haley had only had it for like 2 weeks and she keeps her things weirdly pristine for a teenager. They split it 3 ways. $300 each for Haley, Mason and Rosie. And then, this is the part that makes me tear up every single time. Bridget brought the kids over to our house on Saturday. All 3 of them sat on our living room floor with their $300 each. And Haley pulled out her old phone and showed Rosie a list she'd made. A list of things Rosie might want. She'd done research. She'd looked up art supplies, picture books, that little kid camera that prints photos. She'd made a whole catalog for a 5-year-old she sees maybe once a month. Rosie looked at the list, looked at Haley and said, "Can I get the camera and share it with you?" Haley's face, I wish you could have seen it. She got this wobbly smile, the kind where you're trying really hard not to cry, and she said, "Yeah, Rosie. We can share it." Mason used his $300 on a Lego set. The big pirate ship one he'd been wanting forever. And Haley? She kept her $300 and told Bridget she wanted to put it in her savings account. 13 years old with a savings account and a moral backbone. Somebody give that girl a TED Talk. Now I know what you're wondering. What about my parents? Because this whole time they've been radio silent. After Bridget said she wasn't going to Myrtle Beach, they went anyway, just the 2 of them. No grandkids, no Bridget, no me. Just Gary and Donna on a beach somewhere, presumably marinating in stubbornness and sunburn. They were gone for 5 days. During those 5 days I didn't call. Bridget didn't call. And for the first time in maybe my entire life I didn't feel guilty about it. When they came back something was different. I don't know if it was the quiet of a vacation without anyone around them, or the fact that Bridget, their reliable, always available, never makes waves daughter, had actually pushed back. Maybe it was both. But my mom called Bridget first. Not me. Bridget. And she asked one question, did we really mess this up that badly? Bridget, in her classic Bridget way, said, "Yes, Mom. You did." My mom cried. Real crying this time, not the angry kind. The scared kind. The kind where you realize you might actually lose something that matters. She told Bridget she didn't know how things had gotten so lopsided. She said she and my dad had always seen Bridget as the one who needed more help. Single mom, tight budget, tougher situation. And that they'd somehow turned helping more into loving more without realizing it. Do I believe that? Honestly, I'm not sure. Maybe partially. People are complicated, right? Sometimes the stories we tell ourselves about why we do things aren't the real reasons. Sometimes they're just the reasons that let us sleep at night. But she was trying. And that mattered. My dad was harder. He's not a talker, he's a stewer. He stews and then eventually comes around, but he needs to feel like it's his idea. So about a week after they got back he showed up at my house again. This time at a normal hour, 10 in the morning on a Saturday. He rang the doorbell like a normal person. He was holding a small gift bag. I opened the door and he held it out without saying anything. Inside was a little jewelry box. And inside that was a charm bracelet. A kid's charm bracelet with a tiny unicorn, a tiny paintbrush and a tiny letter R. I know it's late, he said. I'm not good at this. No, you're not. He looked at his shoes. Your mother and I, we didn't mean for it to be like this. But it was Dad. I know. He looked up. I want to fix it. I don't know how, but I want to fix it. You want to know something? That was enough. Not because it solved everything, it didn't. Not because one bracelet erases 5 years of feeling invisible. It doesn't. But because my dad, who has never in his life admitted to being wrong about anything, including the time he insisted Delaware was south of Maryland and argued about it for 20 minutes at Thanksgiving, that man stood on my porch and said he wanted to fix it. That meant something. I let him in. Rosie came running out and yelled, "Daddy Gary," and jumped on him, and he picked her up and held her for a long time. Longer than I'd ever seen him hold her. And over the top of her head, he looked at me and his eyes were red and he mouthed the words, "I'm sorry. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you everything is perfect now. It's not. My parents are work in progress. My mom has started inviting Rosie over on her own. Just Rosie, no other kids, their special time, and she's doing it about twice a month. My dad bought Rosie a little fishing rod and takes her to the pond near their house. He's teaching her to cast, and apparently she's terrible at it, but he thinks it's hilarious, which is honestly more bonding than I got until I was about 15. The kitchen renovation? They figured it out on their own. Got a smaller scope, did some of the work themselves. My dad learned to tile from YouTube, and according to my mom, the backsplash is a little crooked but full of character. Derek offered to help with some of the labor and my dad accepted, and the two of them spent a weekend doing grout work and not talking much but somehow saying everything. The $10,000? We kept it. Put it in a college fund for Rosie. My parents never brought it up again. I think they understood that the money was never really the point. And Bridget, my sister, my buffer, my unexpected hero in all of this, she and I are closer now than we've ever been. We do Sunday dinners at each other's houses alternating weeks. Our kids are growing up together the way we always wanted. Haley still has her old phone, still has her savings account, and still checks in on Rosie with this quiet, protective tenderness that makes me believe the next generation might actually be better than ours. I asked Haley once, a few months later, if she ever regretted giving up the iPhone. She shrugged and said, "It was just a phone, Aunt Corinne. Rosie's my cousin. Just a phone. Rosie's my cousin. Simple as that." You know, I started this whole thing angry. Genuinely, deeply angry, at my parents, at the unfairness, at myself for tolerating it for so long. And I'm not going to pretend the anger just vanished, because it didn't. Comes back sometimes in small waves, when I see an old Facebook photo or when my mom says something thoughtless without realizing it. But the waves are getting smaller. And the good stuff, the fishing rod, the charm bracelet, Rosie shrieking, "Daddy Gary," loud enough to scare the neighbors. That stuff is getting bigger. Family is messy. It's uneven and unfair, and sometimes it makes you want to scream into a pillow at 3 in the morning. But it's also the place where, if you're lucky, people can learn and grow and show up late to the party with a crooked bracelet and red eyes and 2 words that change everything. I'm sorry. That's all it took. So if you made it this far, thank you. Seriously, thank you for listening to my story. If any of this hit close to home, if you've ever felt like the overlooked one in your family, I see you. I've been you. And I promise you, standing up for yourself doesn't make you the bad guy, even when they try to make you feel like it does. If you like this story, leave a like. It means more than you know. And if you didn't like something or you would have handled it differently, tell me in the comments. I genuinely want to hear what you think, because honestly, I'm still figuring this out one day at a time. And maybe your perspective is exactly what someone else scrolling through here needs to hear. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves and take care of your Rosies.